Gomez and Company welcome former SU quarterback Eric Dungey thanks to Liverpool Pool and Spa on the flagship station of SU football, TK99 and TK105.
Eric, good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. How about you guys?
Good. Non-football related. What was the highlight of your weekend?
Highlight of the weekend, there's a new restaurant that opened up in our hometown, so went out there, gave it a try with a bunch of my buddies and their spouses, and yeah, it was a fun time. And then other than that, a lot of football as always. So
well, that's cool. What kind of restaurant is it?
It's like a kind of like a steakhouse type restaurant. It's on the lake. It's it was really good. But yeah, it's probably just prime location. It's one of the only restaurants from my hometown that's actually on the lake.
Oh, wow!
So it was a former like burger spot in the past, but they just got new ownership, and yeah, they did a really good job with it. So
is that Lake Oswego? Is that the lake?
Lake Oswego, correct.
There you go. Well, I'm good. I'm glad you enjoyed that. And as you said, plenty of football to talk about, including obviously the exciting come from behind overtime win for the Orange. And there were times, Eric, that it early on, again, that they kind of got down early. And I know in the stands where I was sitting, I was in the press box for a bit and then went around to visit with some friends, and the groans of, oh, here we go again. Another November. And obviously that's not what happened, but the team held it together and came out with a win. But it was a fun game to watch just from a fan perspective.
Yeah, definitely. I think the second half was huge there. The first half, as you were saying, you're like, oh no, what's going on? We had essentially a backup quarterback, almost got to the third string. And it was not looking good, but then the cards aligned, and I think the best thing that Syracuse did, they relied on that run game. They got LeQuint going, and he had a huge game: 21 carries, 121 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kyle still did what he needed to do. The defense forced some turnovers, especially there at the end. I think it was a whole group effort there, and whatever Coach Brown said to them at halftime, it obviously clicked for them because they came out a whole different team. So huge second half, and it really honestly probably was a season saver for them. And now they're still in contentions here. Have to have some things happen here in the ACC, but they put themselves in a good position here. And all they have to do is keep continuing to win, and good things could happen. But 6-2 bowl eligible, phenomenal job, especially for a first year head coach with Coach Brown. And they got back to that run game, and you just see what it can do for you. And they relied on it. Obviously, Kyle's been so solid all year, but especially later in the game, they needed a big touchdown winning drive there, and touchdown tying drive, and they just relied on that run game. LeQuint was running so hard. His jump cut, his quickness, and his spin. He's a pretty phenomenal player to watch, and you could just tell he was hungry. And Coach Brown probably said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to give you the rock, and what are you going to do with it?" And he took it and ran, and I think he just solidified himself there as not only a leader, but also one of the best backs in the ACC there.
In the first half, especially, I mean, it happened in the second, but I noticed more in the first half, Eric. A couple of drop passes. It just happens. It's the game. And when it happens from the quarterback perspective, back in the huddle, when the guy, whoever it is, they just miss it, they just hits him in the hands and it falls, and it's from the stands frustrating as a fan. You go, oh man, how'd you drop that? When you go back in the huddle, is that just immediately, it's like, hey, we're all in this together? Like, what's the quick conversation in the huddle when something like that happens?
Yeah, I mean, it's just hey, flush it. We're moving on to the next play. Still going to come at you, so make sure that you're ready for it. You can't expect everyone to be perfect at all times. There were a lot of dropped passes there, but Kyle just kept going to the guys. So that was really cool to see. And not only that, but, quarterbacks, they're not going to make the right throws or great throw, perfect throw every single time. Linemen are going to miss a block or two. But, that's the game. You're going to face adversity. You just have to make sure that you, buckle up your chin strap the next play and that you don't let it affect you. You keep moving forward. So there's a lot of plays in a football game. If you let one bad play continue to haunt you, then you're going to have a long season. So you got to have a short memory. And I think those guys and those receivers did. And it was just great to see them come back out, and Kyle still have that faith in them and continue to move the ball and throw it throughout the game.
Yeah, it was good to see Justin Ross Simmons with kind of a breakout game for him here mid-season, and he finally has a chance to shine. Now, when you were playing, Eric, we asked Don McPherson this, and there were a couple of names that you remember from his era that similarly, maybe halfway through the season, had the chance to step up, and they really did, and then ended up having a great second part of the season. When you were playing, any players come to mind who midway through, for injury or whatever reason, all of a sudden was in the starting role and then shined?
I think it was more of the breakout receiver. I'm thinking back to like the Amba Tau and the transfer from Maryland, and he came in and Maryland didn't want him, and he was so special and gifted, and you just saw what he was able to do at Syracuse. And then obviously Steve Ishmael, once you're going to continue to go, probably the most sure-handed receiver I've ever thrown to in my life. And then you had a guy like Jamal Custis. When Amba was gone, they were like, "Oh, who's going to step up and be the guy?" And then Steve stepped up. And then when Steve was gone and Irv, it was the same thing. Who's going to step up, be the guy? And Jamal Custis, he was able to come to the scene, and Sean Riley as well. So I think for these guys, when they get that moment and they get that chance, it's also about timing and location. Somebody's got to make those plays, and once the ball's in your hand, especially for Justin Ross Simmons, I mean, he took it and ran. What a great first catch, and then not only that, just to follow up with a 2-touchdown performance, and it's just that's how you make a name for yourself, and that's also how you work your way into the lineup. It's one thing to make good catches and plays in practice, but it's a whole other thing when it's prime time and everything matters there. So I'm sure he'll be working his way up into the one lineup a little more this week, and they're going to say, all right, this is a gameplay guy and a gamer. We got to get him the ball and make sure that we're continuing to do so in whatever way possible.
How about some NFL? Did you watch any of that yesterday?
You know what? I didn't have a big NFL day yesterday. I went out and I golfed and enjoyed some time, and then kind of just hung out at home and made some dinner, but did not watch a lot of NFL. It was probably the first weekend that I had not. It was college football heavy, and then could start golfing again. We had one sunny day out here. I had to take advantage of it.
Someone texting in there wanting a guy. I guess they're traveling. What's the name of the restaurant there, the steakhouse that opened up in Lake Oswego?
Lake Oswego.
It's called Man's on the Lake. So it was actually a guy, and he bought one restaurant. It was like an old school tire factory. Changed it into a nice little like public house, and just done really well. And then about another like Asian Zing restaurant that in another location, and then this is his third one. So his name's Eric Mann. He does a really good job with these restaurants, and he totally revamped the place. It's very cool. I think if you go to Lake Oswego, it's one of the spots that you have to stop by. Food's great, and then the location is just prime. So.
Right.
Good stuff. Eric, thanks. As always, we'll check in again on Friday morning at 8:10, as then we'll preview the SU-BC game coming up Saturday at noon. Thanks as always.
Thanks, guys.